Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Channable and myself, where we'll be looking at 5 advertising tips to unlock multi-channel e-commerce growth in 2024. I see that there are still a few people dropping in here, so I'm just going to give it a few more moments before we jump into it. And in the meantime, we can think about a question that I've had on my mind this week, which is, what is the reason for 300% performance boost in campaigns using 4 or more channels compared to those who are just limited to 1 or 2 channels? 300% performance boost is a massive number, and it did surprise me at first, but once you start thinking about it, it does make a lot of sense. All right, I think we're ready to go. We seem to have a little bit of issues with the sound, so I'll speak a bit more slowly and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So today's agenda, multi-channel and why it's relevant. It feels like it's more relevant today than it was yesterday, and it's going to be way more relevant moving forward tomorrow. We're also going to talk about some of the challenges that our retailers and brands and agencies face each and every day. And based on these challenges, I have 5 tips for you on how to grow your multi-channel e-commerce in 2024. At the end of this, we'll have a shorter Q&A session. And please be mindful, the questions for the Q&A, we do have a tab down in the right-hand corner for questions. Please post all your questions here, and I'll be sure to go through them one by one when we're done with this webinar. If I don't have time to answer a question today, I'll be sure to follow up to you personally by email. So let's jump into it. Quickly about myself, my name is Daniel Ridley. Very nice to meet you. I'm responsible for the strategic development of the Nordic market here at Channable. When I'm not working at Channable, I spend most of my time watching or playing football, which is, except my fiance, my biggest passion in life. I also go on a bunch of long walks here in the forest with my dog Bruno, and I spend way too much time and money on coffee machines and trying out new recipes and grind sizes, which has sort of become an obsession of mine. Previously, I've worked in e-commerce for the past going on 10 years now for some of the largest e-commerce when it comes to furniture and consumer electronics in the Nordics, where I've worked with everything from product management to brand management and category management. So I've been there, and I know how difficult it is to perform on 5, 10, 15 different markets and across several different channels. So I really know the struggles as well of taking new products to market and keeping your brand image consistent across channels. I've been there. I know it is really tough, and I hear you guys. And just before we jump into the webinar, I do have a few questions just to help me understand a bit who's with us today. So the questions should have popped up on your screen. If they haven't, you'll find a poll down in the right-hand corner. The first question is, are you already using a multi-channel approach? And the second one is, do you feel well positioned with your multi-channel strategy at this point? So I'll just give it a few seconds and see how we're doing on these polls here. So I can see that most of us are using a multi-channel approach, which is really, really good. And I think you will get a lot of information out of this webinar as well. I see that there are a few people that are planning to but haven't started yet, and I think this webinar is really suitable for you as well. And for the second question, how do you feel positioned with your multi-channel strategy? I'm happy to see that there's a lot of people that feel that there's room for improvement, because I guess that's why you're spending time with me today. So super happy to see that. So enough about me. Let's get into it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I see that my sound is still a little bit bad. Let me turn off the camera. Hopefully this works a little bit better for you guys. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. I'll move on and I'll try to speak slow and calm and quiet, and hopefully this helps us. So it's 2023 and we're in a multi-channel world. multi-channel is more relevant than ever before, and it feels like it's keeping on getting more and more relevant for each day. I do feel that it's used quite inflationary. And what does it actually mean? Well, for me, multi-channel means building a presence for your brand and selling your products across multiple channels. So be it social commerce, marketplaces, web stores, apps, you name it. You could look at a bunch of big brands like Apple, Nike, Adidas as examples, where they have their own proprietary web stores and apps where you can buy their products, as well as selling through different third-party retailers and on marketplaces like Amazon. For those of you who were when I mentioned the number that uh, campaigns that run across 4 or more digital channels outperform campaigns that only run on 1 to 2 channels by 300%. Well, there are a bunch of different reasons to this, and I think I've understood a few of these, and I want to share my reasoning behind it. So, when you think about yourself and your own social media usage, how many social media platforms do you engage with on a monthly basis? For myself, I feel like I'm an average, maybe low user of social media, and I count to at least 5, possibly 6 platforms every month on which I engage. And the fact is, worldwide, the average social media user uses 7 platforms every month in which they engage with. And this scales from 9 down to 4, depending on where you are in the world. So just by looking at this variable alone, we can understand why a campaign running on multiple channels compared to just 1 or 2 hits way better. If we're only engaging our potential customers on 1 to 2 channels, but they're live on 7 each month, well, we're missing a lot of opportunity. And this goes into another point, which is brand awareness. So being visible on multiple platforms by default increases your brand awareness, right? Uh, and in turn, this also increases the trust of your brand. Because let's face it, people buy from brands they trust. And another step in this is being visible on platforms which consumers already trust. So if you're a new brand if you're a new brand or retailer and you're visible on a platform that the consumer already trusts, like Amazon, eBay, Bol, well, then you break down that first barrier. And this reduces not only the risk for the buyer when they know that they can trust the platform even if they haven't seen your brand before, but you also reduce your own risk by not putting all your eggs in one basket. So multi-channel really is more relevant than ever before. And these are just a few of the points that lead to this 300% increase. And consumers are cross-channel. As I mentioned, they're live on 7 different social media on average. So at the same time, they're looking for information across channels, from TikTok for cooking recipes, Pinterest for furniture inspiration, Amazon to find the secret Santa gift for your colleague now next week. Consumers want to be able to find this information quickly and efficiently to buy the right products. I do have a few statistics when it comes to this. So from the food industry specifically, 46% of shoppers look at 2 to 3 sources of information before making a purchase. And this is for products that are quite low cost, right? They still look at 2 to 3 sources of information before making their purchase. When you look at the fashion industry, 43% of shoppers look at least 4 channels before making their purchase decision. So going back again to campaigns only running on 1 or 2 channels, well, you're definitely missing out, especially when you're looking at a category like fashion, where people are searching more and more sources of information. Because trust is a big component, and for the consumer, there isn't just one source of truth. So without this one source of truth, they want to move autonomously through the digital world. And that takes us into the customer journey. And I know myself from bringing products to the market that this is a really, really tricky part, right? Optimizing all of my content for my products across all markets for all my channels and keeping my product listings and my brand image consistent is key and it's vital to give my customers a positive experience. But it is really tricky because with every new product and every new market, you add complexity. So we have this, and at the same time, you also have the requirement from your consumer to be picked up by personalized content. It has to be a channel that's intuitive, easy to use, and it has to contain inspiring content. Looking at the person on the slide here in front of you, the information has to be at your fingertips, because who wants to scroll for more than just a few moments? And I think this is a memo to us all. We really need to understand what the consumer wants, and we need to provide them with that information and relevant advertising. Sorry. So with everything I've said, how do you actually react? Well, it seems like a good idea could be to cast your net really, really wide to make sure that you don't miss out on these consumers that are active on all of their social media and different platforms. Well, if you take a step back from that, running aimlessly with your multi-channel e-commerce could actually be a pitfall. If you think carefully about which channels you want to expand to and whether it's relevant to your business, you're on a good path. So it's about meeting the consumer in the right place at the right time. And it is true, you could have all the best content in the world, but if you're not where your target audience is, you're probably wasting your time, your resources, and your money. I do have one example from just a week or so ago with a company I was speaking to who was advertising products for the elderly population, so phones for senior citizens, etc. And they were advertising on TikTok. Like, I'm not saying that this is the wrong strategy, and maybe they've done enough research to understand that their target audience is there, but maybe they could also look at expanding to different, more suitable platforms. That said, it really is easier said than done, because as we know, consumers, they don't act in the same way. We look at all sorts of different platforms and channels to consume our information. And this has to do with a bunch of different variables, from age to geography or cultural differences. They all play into this, to just name a few variables. And I have a few more statistics with me here today. One of them is for the German market. I saw we have a lot of German viewers here today. And the German population say that marketplaces are a really big source of inspiration. 65% of the consumers in Germany say that they start their product search on Amazon. So this is true for the German market. It's definitely not true worldwide, and it isn't true for each market in the EU. And if you look at a different statistic from eMarketer, they say that Gen Z looks for inspiration on social commerce. And if you look at other statistics, they'll tell you other things. What this means is us or you as a retailer or a brand, you really have to do the homework of understanding your target group. So where they are, how they want to be addressed. And at the same time, like the statistics tell us, this is really complex, right? But if you want to reach one or multiple target groups, you need to live multi-channel. So you need to do your homework in understanding how and where your target group searches for information. So I feel like I've spoken about quite a few reasons for multi-channel. I feel like the facts do speak for themselves, and you just can't avoid multi-channel in today's e-commerce. If we summarize these arguments a little bit for multi-channel, you want to tap into new markets. So reaching new markets through, for instance, Zalando or Allegro or Amazon, if you're only in one market, these are some really good platforms to leverage without having the bulk of the work to do for yourself. You can automate this easily and reach new markets. You can also attract new audiences and buyers by diversifying your channels. So if you're looking for a younger audience, TikTok could be a really good channel for you. But if you're looking for a more mature audience, maybe Facebook is the way to go. And by doing this, you minimize the risk because you're not dependent on one channel or one source of information for your customer. In the same way, you also increase customer satisfaction. So by being on multiple channels and platforms, you also increase the amount of options that your customer has. So they may have different preferences for checkout solutions, for logistics and transport, or the level of customer service that they require. So by diversifying your platforms and your channels, it also increases customer satisfaction because they'll probably find the version of a checkout that they want to use, right? We also have synergy effects. So you have these online marketing and logistic trends. If you look at Amazon and Zalando, for example, they offer this Europe-wide uniform control of their multi-channel sales, which means that you can utilize their economies of scale to your benefit. We also have another point here, which is understanding buying behavior. I'll get into that a little bit more as we go on, but basically, the more data you can collect about your target audience at different touch points, the better you can understand the customer journey, and you can better understand the trends that you can benefit from. All of this aims to increase our visibility and our reach, and in the end, also our revenue and our growth. And this may sound complicated. I've been speaking a lot about how to get out into different markets, but it doesn't have to be. And one way that you can create visibility is by using a tool like Channable. So the way that Channable helps to increase visibility is by enabling you to easily integrate your product data into thousands of marketplaces, affiliate networks, price comparison sites, or social commerce. And the way you do that is you centralize your data through Channable by importing through a common web shop platform or plugin like Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, etc., or by importing a CSV, JSON, or similar file. Once you have this data centralized in Channable, you can easily enrich, optimize it, and filter it for each of the channels that you wish to enter. As a note here, I mentioned that the average social media user is active on 7 different platforms each month. Well, the average Channable user is active on 9 platforms each month. So that really means that the Channable user has understood the value of being available on multiple channels, and I hope you have too. So every day we're speaking to agencies, retailers, and brands about all of the challenges that they run into. And I think, if I'm honest, I think I could have another 2 or 3 webinars only talking about these challenges that they face. I've chosen a few of the most common ones here, where we hear that people are worrying about their brand identity getting lost when they go out into too many channels. How do you avoid cannibalizing on your own revenue if you're spreading your wings too broadly? All of this manual administration is really complex and time consuming. And the inconsistent requirements from each platform is really giving them these massive headaches. These are just a few of the examples that I hear day in and day out. And I think the most common one is on the top right of your screen now, and it's how and where do I start? And I only have another 15 or 20 minutes, so I think that's a good place for me to also start. If you do have a different struggle that you're facing today that you want to address, please connect with me after here on LinkedIn or by email, and we'll definitely have a chat. Just as a side note, we also have colleagues, or I have colleagues speaking your local languages. So if you want to connect in French or Italian, or if German is your preferred language, please reach out to me and I'll direct you to a colleague that can take care of you. So now we're at the point where everybody wanted to get to at the start of this, right? What are the tips for actually growing your revenue using multi-channel e-commerce in 2024? So from all of these challenges and everything we're speaking about, I've come to the realization that optimized product data is key. Like, I'm not sure if I can stress this enough, but optimizing your product data is the be all and the end all. So it's relevant for ads, for feeds, for listings alike. If we start off by listings, so one of the common things I hear when I'm speaking to my clients is they think that optimizing their product listings is just a one-off task. Once that's done, your listings are online and they should be selling, right? Well, this is quite far from the truth. Optimizing and keeping on optimizing your product listings is an essential part of the e-commerce experience for your customer. The way I would think about it is the listings are your digital shop window. And if they're not up to date and optimized for each channel, well, the chances are the client isn't going to look in and they're definitely not going to visit you. So really optimizing the listings and keeping them optimized over time is really, really key. Another part of this is please categorize and filter your products correctly. If you don't adhere to the taxonomy of each of the channels you're active in, well, you could have a negative ranking or a really bad experience for the customers who's trying to search for your products but not finding them because they're not categorized correctly. So please do this. Another key optimization here is to add keywords and product attributes. So add both positive and negative keywords to your searches and be specific to your target group. Things work differently on different platforms, so they don't work the same on Amazon and Bol and Zalando. You need to pay attention to this, and you also should think about adjusting your attributes as the year goes on. So for seasonality, for instance, we're in the holiday season now, so on Pinterest, maybe I would pivot from from furniture inspiration idea to holiday gift ideas. And on Amazon, I would go for Secret Santa ideas. So really think about using your keywords and your attributes as well, and keeping them optimized and updated for the season you're active in. And finally, think of what the USPs are that turn your visitors into customers. So analyze the feedback that you're getting from the customers. Look at the language that they're using and use that to write your new product text and ad copies. ChatGPT is a really good good tool for this. So I see that there are a bunch of questions dropping in the chat, and I'll definitely try to address these at the end during the Q&A. So I see the questions dropping in. I'm not avoiding you. I'm just taking them as we get to the end of the webinar. So that was tip number 1. If we go to tip number 2, make use of the visual appeal. So right now you can't see me, unfortunately, so I can't do this, but your first impression is really important. Your first impression of me was within the first 10 or 15 seconds, and the same is true for your products online. There's no second chance for a first impression, and it's such a boring saying, but I think like pictures do say more than 1,000 words, especially for e-commerce. So investing in high quality image that stand out from your competitors is really key. And this is something that I struggled with myself when I was working with product management. In the beginning, I didn't really see the investment of hiring the photo studio and everything to get my products looking beautiful. But as time went on, it's just so incredible how impactful this can be for you. And the reason for that is customers want to see the products in the right context and how they're used, because the options out there are overwhelming, right? Every single day, we're bombarded with thousands upon thousands of ads. And if you don't hit that emotional trigger for a customer, well, chances are you're probably going to lose them. How do you do this? Well, you could use creative tools to improve, recycle, or upcycle, or combine your images. Often mixing and matching your existing content is good enough. And the way you can do that is by using the images to highlight the benefits of your products. So visually highlighting USPs like your heat, what did I choose here? Your heat pump killer for 2024. If you have a discount price or a different USP that you think is really valuable, add this visually to your product images. And again, I had this pain of doing it manually when I was bringing products to market. And Channable has seen this pain throughout the years. And that's the reason why just a month ago, we developed our own tool for dynamically editing your images at scale in bulk by using templates. So you can get these high quality images out there without this massive amount of work and having to think creatively, which I'm really bad at. So the dynamic image editor is a new tool from Channable, and if you want any more information about it, please let me know after this webinar and I'll send the information through. Key point number 3, ride the retail media wave. So we've got all our listings optimized. We've done the descriptions, we have the images dynamically updated with all our USPs that we can think of, but we still don't have any traffic to our product page. Why is that? Well, there could be a bunch of different reasons. One of the reasons could be a rising cost in paid search. Another reason could be the extinction or the phasing out of third-party cookies, making personalization that much more difficult. And paid search is an expensive channel, and you should be looking at alternatives to that. And actually, sending everyone to your product page without context or information about the brand can be counterproductive in building the trust that we talked about being so important. And I know that everybody listening here is an expert, and I know that retail media is on your budget request for next year. But if it isn't, please, you still have time to add it, and please do. Because purchasing ad space on a retail media network really helps brands of all sizes to build their digital purchasing strategies. And I think one of the key strengths here is that retail media actually helps you advertise in places where consumers are already spending their time and they're already willing to purchase. The way I think of it is retail media being a sort of digital shelf in a store. So when you're walking down an aisle in your supermarket and you have all of these specials on the side and promos and deals in your face, well, this is kind of what retail media is. So it gives the ad way more relevance to the consumer browsing online because of the context in which you're showing the ad. Furthermore, when shoppers engage with your brand's retail media or purchase products from an online store, you as a third party, you get the opportunity to receive first party insights that can better help you understand your audience's shopping patterns. So at every conference I've been to this year, we've been speaking about retail media, and it is the fastest growing advertising channel. The reasons for this, the proximity to the point of sale, first party data, and targeting, and the measurability you get are really big advantages. So again, I do think you all have this in your budget, but if you don't, you have a few days before the year is over, make sure to add it. Tip number 4. One of the biggest headaches that I used to have working with product, and also one of the reasons why I didn't want to go to work in the morning, was knowing that I needed to manually update my stock cross-channel, cross-market, which was such a massive headache. Why? I mean, your inventory moves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the end goal is to offer products that are actually in stock. It's so easy to oversell or short sell on, if you're just taking Amazon and eBay as 2 examples, just keeping track of these 2 marketplaces over several markets becomes a task that's so difficult to achieve manually. And using a tool that can sync and update your stock in real time is a real game changer. Because if you have products listed or advertising on Google Shopping, as soon as they're out of stock, you want this ad to disappear, right? And this is something you can do with a tool that syncs your inventory automatically. Suitable tool also gives you the opportunity to better track what you're selling and in what where you're selling and in what quantity you're selling something. And based on that, you can better plan your campaigns or your product bundlings or plan for seasonalities that you may encounter during the year. You can also use this as you can also use a repricing strategy. So a repricer would compare your prices to the competition in a marketplace and dynamically adjust your pricing to stay competitive and win the buy box. So this is probably one of the things that I wish that I had when I was developing products all of those years ago, and probably one of the things that would reduce the amount of headaches you run into each and every single day. And tip number 5, discover the power of automations. So AI is on everybody's lips today, and I think hosting a webinar without mentioning AI is it's not responsible from my side, right? And I think we should take AI really seriously. We should remain pragmatic, and we should use it to automate tedious, repetitive tasks, sort of what I like to call low-effort tasks that don't really give you any immediate value, and instead use that time for strategic development of your marketing strategies or whatever you want to put that time on. But then just to cut out that. And there are a bunch of reasons to automate. 2 of the reasons I can think about today are, 1, the time saving that I just mentioned, so that you can focus your time in a place that needs the attention more. And also reducing the likelihood of a human error. So updating product listings, images, ads, ad campaigns across markets and across a bunch of channels seriously heightens the risk of error if you're doing it manually. By doing this dynamically and automated, you completely eliminate the risk of you or myself messing up. And things you could use the automation for are, for example, enriching your product descriptions and titles So making sure that the descriptions and the titles are correct for each of the markets that you're active on and each of the channels, because it may be a different way of presenting the product depending on which channel you're live in. You can use automation for keyword research, so positive and negative keywords depending on seasonality, something that takes a massive amount of time doing manually, just automate it. The same goes for translations. So enriching your product descriptions and titles, well, you can also translate them for each of the markets you're in, seriously saving a lot of time. Uh, and as I spoke about before, image optimizations. So this is the first impression that you do on your potential customer. Make sure to make a good one and make sure to optimize and to automate this by using a dynamic image editor like the one Channable has just developed. And on that note, on image optimizations, I recently discovered that Amazon is beta testing an image editor as well, and they're promising us that if you place your product in a lifestyle scene, it's going to lead to a 40% higher click rate, which is an amazing number. Just by doing a tiny little variable change, you get a 40% higher click rate. So really use image optimizations as part of your marketing strategy. And finally, as the final tip on the final tip, campaign optimization. And what I mean by this is, first of all, dynamically optimize your campaigns for each of the markets and the channels you're active in. Check out which of the creatives work best on which channel and start A/B testing. So check a few markets, make sure that you have the right content there, and test it against different content, different images, different ads, ad copies, whatever it may be, and keep on doing this process until you find something that's perfect for your channel in your specific market for your specific brand or product. So to summarize, please, please, please optimize your product data. I can stress this for another day or two. This is, contrary to what some believe, not just a one-off task. This is something that needs to be done continuously and should be automated. Make use of your visual appeal. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that today due to technical issues. I hope I made a good impression still, and hopefully you can use visual appeal to make sure that your products make a good impression in the future. Be sure to ride the retail media wave. Be present where your consumers are already ready to buy and already more open to receiving your ads compared to through other media. Automatically sync and update your inventory and also use repricing strategies. This will massively decrease the time you have to spend on manual labor and also reduce a lot of headaches, both for yourself and for your consumers who don't run into the risk of purchasing already oversold items. And finally, discover the power of automations. There are so many small tasks that you can automate by using ChatGPT or by using a tool like Channable that will really save you so much time and give you a lot of really, really nice content to use in your ads and in your copies moving forward. With that, I hope this was some good information for you and you got something out of this. We'll jump straight into the questions segment. So just give me a few moments here. I'll bring up the questions again here. So I have a question here from Theresia. Which channels would you advise me to use if I want to get started with multi-channel? That is a very good question, and it might be a difficult one for me to answer really precisely. I think the choice of channel really depends on your specific goals, your target audience, of course, and I think the nature of your business. There are a few channels that you could consider incorporating into your approach depending on what you're doing. Of course, Amazon, eBay, Etsy are these large platforms that you can leverage to reach a broad audience. If you're engaging on Facebook, you reach a diverse audience through content ads. Instagram would be a younger demographic, and the same with TikTok, where you could engage with them through images and stories and be more of that emotional seller. And then, of course, I think you can use a bunch of affiliate programs, but it really depends on, I think you have to tailor your approach to your specific business goals, to your target audience, and to your products or services if you sell services. Um, and one of the key parts of this is, I think, to regularly analyze your performance and make sure you optimize your strategies for each of the channels that you're active on and for each of the markets that you're active on. Let's see. How can we effectively engage with our audience across multiple channels without diluting our brand image? Also a tricky question. So to balance effective engagement without watering down or diluting your brand image, I think you need to understand your target audience's preferences on each channel. So for each channel, there will be different preferences. And I think the consistency in the messaging and the personalized content are really, really crucial here. So utilize channels that align with your brand and channels that your audience trusts, and of course that they're active on. I think should be a really good thing here. Let's see if I have any more questions here. Let's see. Talking about brand awareness, should one have an awareness CTA or IG, for instance, instead of a shop now download one to increase followers? How important is the number of followers for brand trust? Well, this is again, it could be specific to how you want to position your brand. A great example is Red Bull. I don't think they're advertising their products online. What they're doing is offering content that's going to increase their engagement and followers rather than their products themselves. Hope that answered the question. Let's see. How do I ensure growth in incremental value per channel? Does Channable offer certain options about this? Yes, we do offer options for this. So we offer you a chance to segment products and then track the performance based on this performance. Talking about inventory, could you suggest some tools for real-time inventory management, dynamic repricing, forecasts? Well, looking at Channable, we do have a really cool tool for this for inventory management as well as dynamic repricing. So Massimo, I'm going to catch up to you after this webinar, and I'm going to send you a bunch of information when it comes to this. Let's see. Sorry, we're having a bit of issues finding more questions here. So let's see. We have over 15,000 products and many products that have a short description. Do you have an AI feature to optimize the descriptions, product data in bulk? Uh, It depends in what way you mean. We have a rule set that can optimize depending on the data that you have imported into Channable. We don't have a tool that would write product text for you within Channable, but what you can do is use an AI tool to write these optimized descriptions for you, import them into Channable, and as part of your rule set, you can incorporate them into each of the channels that you're active on. Let's see. I think that was all the questions that I can see here. If I've missed any of your questions, I'll be sure to connect with you after this webinar. You will also have a copy of this webinar sent out to yourselves after we end this in an email. And with this email, you'll also have the chance to give us feedback or add any remarks you may have. And you can also post follow-up questions there. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, if you have any questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Either if you want to speak with me directly in English, or if you prefer to speak in your local language, I'll be sure to contact one of my colleagues and make sure that you can speak to the right person there. So with that, uh, I think we've answered all the questions, and I'm very sorry I couldn't be visible for you guys today, but I hope that the webinar gave you answers to a bunch of your questions and inspired you for growth in 2024. So thank you very much.